Straight guys. What has a woman done to flirt with you that you can never forget, in a good way? I was lying in a hammock and she climbed in with me and cuddled on my chest. I'm usually fairly oblivious to hints, but I did catch that one. She motioned for me to listen to her whisper something, then instead she kissed me on the cheek. I dropped my phone at a bar and the girl sitting next to me said, "Oh no. I hope it isn't broken. I have to give you my number and I don't have a pen." It was incredibly clever and organic and I'll never forget it. A girl just winked at me once. I did the whole thing where I looked behind me and everything. Girl told me that she bought new underwear just to feel sexy for me. It's still etched into my brain a decade later. She came over and asked to borrow my salt. It was a restaurant. Every single table had salt. Well, I was on a plane flying to boot camp. And I was seated next to this woman who seemed really cheery. She initially just asked why I was holding a singular envelope and nothing else. I didn't need any bags where I was going. And I told her it's just because it was everything I needed once I got to Paris Island. Anyways, we proceed to have one of the most enjoyable and genuine conversations I've had with a person. No less. A person I just met. We talked about our goals, aspirations, political opinions, art, music, relationships, etc. She was super intelligent and really good looking, so I figured, yeah, she's out a league and being nice. At the end of the flight, she was very direct with her intentions. She just said, "I didn't want that conversation to end. So take my number and for the love of God call me when you can." It was super refreshing to have a woman be so direct. She wrote her number on a piece of paper with a cute little drawing on it. So then what happened was I emptied out my pockets when I got to boot camp. A drill instructor saw the paper and threw that shit in the trash. I didn't have my cell phone, so I didn't have it saved either. But yeah, just being genuine, relatable, and direct. Won't forget that in my life. Fuck that guy BTW. She pointed at an ad and said, "That guy is cute like you." First time I ever thought of myself as handsome. Sitting at a bar with a girl on a blind date. After we'd already gone out to dinner together earlier that night. She rested her hand on my thigh. Literally no woman had ever done that before. And I just met this girl today. Don't get me wrong, I'd had sex before. But I was always the one making all the effort and risking rejection and indicating my own interest first. This time, she was making a move on me. It had never happened before. We've been together for 13 years now. Married for 11. And when I tell her about that thigh thing, she doesn't even remember doing it. She was a little drunk. But that was my sign that the date was, in fact, going very well. At work, I shared a big office with 2 other guys. She would come in occasionally, sit down and shoot the shit. One time she extended her hand for my phone and asked if I had any cool games on it. I had like 1 or 2. So I handed it over. And she just sat there playing games for a few minutes. Then she got up, handed me the phone, and informed me her number was in it. Before my ex and I got together. She was a new member of our friend group. She always paid attention to what I said or what I ate. One day we were hanging out on a bench before our friends turned up. And she pulled out a backpack full of little things she knew I liked. Pop-Tarts, cherries, peanut M&Ms etc. And told me she loved me. I had a thing for her too, but I had no idea she felt the same way, so I was kinda stunned and didn't say anything for a few seconds. Riding a bus at university to head to an exam, a girl came up to me and said, "I think I know you. Are you X?" I said no. And she kept talking to me. And we walked for like 15 minutes together talking until I got to the place I was writing my exam. Felt like she was waiting for me to ask for her number, and I totally should have, but was out of it from studying. Felt surreal and never saw her on campus again. She came up to me and asked me to dance. Bonus points because it was in front of my friends. When I was in college, I was living on campus. And the nice thing about that was that campus was dead quiet on the weekend because there's nothing to do like it all in the town the university is attached to. So I'd go eat breakfast in the dining hall on the weekend and enjoy it being pretty empty. Maybe grab a copy of the Oregonian if they remembered to stock the free ones. And just take my time eating and figuring out my day. On some weekends I'd see this girl while I was there. Kind of a short tomboy with bleached hair that I recognized from living near the smoking area of campus. Every time I noticed her at the dining hall, she was already looking at me like she was waiting for me to notice. She'd smile and wave, and at first it made me suspicious because I had pretty poor self-esteem back then. But I got into the routine of reciprocating her smile and wave when she would come in and when she would leave. It felt genuine and nice. And it always put me in a good mood even though we didn't interact beyond that. Easter weekend comes along. Campus is dead as usual. I'm in the dining hall eating breakfast as usual. I showed up a little later than usual because, well, I had overdid it with some prescription opiates the night before. The truth was that I was going through some very rough stuff that year. And I was starting to develop a drug habit to cope. I can't tell you how. But she somehow knew I could tell that she knew. I'm almost positive. It was like she could see who I was deep down. She had already finished her meal when I got there. She sat at her booth across the room for a few minutes while I ate. Then she got up, threw her food container away, and walked over to me. Asked me if she could sit down for a moment and talk to me. I say sure. She sits down and says she's transferring to a different university and wanted me to know why I wouldn't see her there anymore. Like it was important for her to tell me that. So I politely say, "Oh, that's a shame." She said she just wanted to say Happy Easter and say goodbye. And then she's like, "This is going to sound strange. But can I see your hand for a second?" She's basically a stranger. But I trust her and put my hand across the table and she holds it with her hands. Looks me in the eye and says very gently, "You don't have to be alone." I hope you realize that. I hesitate because I feel like I'm about to tear up and I nod like, yeah. I know, without saying it, and then she gets up, comes over to me and hugs me for like 30 seconds. She's tearing up at this point and she says, "Please take care of yourself," and walks away. I never saw her again. The whole thing was one of the strangest experiences of my entire life. I didn't even learn her name. But I still think about that moment sometimes because I hadn't experienced that much kindness in my life. At least not kindness I actually believed was sincere. And I needed it very badly because the reason I overdid it with the pills the night before was because I was attempting to work up to a lethal dosage to kill myself.